everyone. It's Sandy Lighterman. I'm the Broward County Film Commissioner, and welcome to The Real Lauderdale. This is a creative series that we have put together that highlights our local screen industry, creative minds, and today we are thrilled to welcome Timothy Mark Davis, who is a Broward-based filmmaker that is a producer, director, and writer, and recently just premiered his first feature film as a director, his directorial debut, Thank You Places. Welcome, Timothy, to our little program here.
Thank you so much, Sandy. Very excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. So tell me about yourself. Where were you born?
Yeah.
What's your
Who are
background?
you?
Exactly.
Right?
Who the heck are you?
So I'm born and raised in Fort Lauderdale. I was born at Holy Cross Hospital.
Nice.
Yep. So I'm a local boy. I went to high school at Calvary Christian Academy, if you know the school up there.
I do.
So got very involved in theater then. So that's really where the storytelling bug started, was in the theater, which I know is common for a lot of people. I went to college up at a small liberal arts college up in Indiana. So
What was the name of that college?
It's called Taylor University.
Okay.
Yeah, and so there I did a humanities degree. I worked in the theater again. I did some acting in some short films, but really stayed out of the production side because I was caught up in doing theater stuff. And from there, moved back down to Florida a couple years after graduating. And I worked on my master's degree. I have a master's of arts in theater studies.
Wow,
so again,
that's very impressive.
So much of the experience is in the theater world.
Well,
and
now I know. Now I know that if someone needs a teacher or a professor, then you
Sure,
have an
sure,
yeah, you have an
I do.
MFA. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's an MA.
It's an MA, so it's still fine. Masters of anything
still
for
counts.
Teaching is right. It's all that matters.
It still was a lot of work, but I gained a ton from. I'm so thankful for that program, that degree that I got. So I came down here and started a theater company about 10 years ago. My brother is...
What's the name of the theater?
The theater company's called New City Players.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so that's like the a passion project, something that's had my heart for a decade now. But my brother is a really talented filmmaker, and he did it in high school, he did it in college. He's made multiple short films.
And his name is?
His name is Andrew Paul Davis.
Another three names,
yes,
right?
We're all about the three names. Well, my favorite actor is Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Okay.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
And so ever since I fell in love with him, I was like, I got to do the three name thing. It's also like Tim Davis.
Yeah.
That's a very boring name.
Yeah.
It's like Tom Jones, right? But Tommy Lee Jones.
Right. Very true.
That's got something going on.
Yeah.
So Timothy Mark Davis.
Mark that
Mark
name
that.
in. Yeah. Mark
Pun
that
intended.
name.
So that was sort of the shift into filmmaking came from working with my brother as an actor, and I started producing things, and it kind of grew from there. But I am a Broward based and been here most of my life.
So that is, I knew you were here, but I didn't know you were from here.
Yeah.
So I get to learn a lot in these interviews as well. So take us, through the journey of, you gave us a little bit, but the acting, and then the producing, and then the directing, because the directing is very new. So that now you're an auteur. I don't see writing in there, but we're close. Maybe, but Thank You Places. What you also did
I
you also
co-wrote it. Yeah.
So there you go. There's the auteur name attached.
Yeah, what am I doing? Can't make up my mind. All these hats.
No, well, there are many auteurs that have done well. So
I think it's really common to be a multi-hyphenate nowadays.
Especially as an emerging filmmaker, yes, but even more so. You've kind of eclipsed that, not just in shorts. You now have feature, and so tell us a little bit how you what made you want to go in all these different directions.
So like I mentioned, I was my brother was making short films down here, and just kind of like our very insular own DIY indie productions, and I was acting in a couple, and then I started helping produce, and then he made his debut feature his last year of college up in Indiana, and then he was going to make his second feature down here. So now we're into end of 2018, 2019, and that was a collaboration between the two of us. I worked on the story with him. He wrote the screenplay. I produced it. I played a supporting role in it. I was also the first AD. I don't know how how
did you do that?
That film almost killed me, but it's a 100-minute feature. It premiered at the Heartland Film Festival. It played at FLIF. It had a decent film festival run, And that was really, for us, that was a project where I said, okay, I'm going to produce a feature film. I've never done that before, but I do believe that the best way to do anything is by doing it. So I literally bought a book called Producer to Producer. It's a fabulous book about independent film producing, and I read the entire thing, and you kind of realize, like, okay, this chapter is actually not applicable at all because I don't have $1 million. But this chapter is, wow, this is gold, and this is teaching me a lot. And I had been producing theater all throughout these years. So the idea of bringing a group of people together, scheduling, logistics for a creative purpose, that's very much in my bones. But after that feature, that's when I kind of got the bug of, I want to, what would it be like to be in the director's seat? I've directed plays, and I have experience acting, obviously, which helps you talk to actors, so I understand the acting process. So that piece of directing felt like second nature to me, being an actor and having spent a lot of time directing actors. But the pandemic hit, and it kind of created this gap of, like, many of us, maybe some things that we had wanted to do but we'd put off, suddenly there was a little bit of space to experiment. And so a friend of mine...
And you also had a lot more time because you didn't...
Exactly.
Yeah.
No theater was happening, so that was sort of shut down. And a friend of mine had written a short play, a one-person short play. It was about 15 pages probably. And I read it and I was like, what if we, turn this into a little pandemic film? And it's technically the first thing I've ever directed. So I acted in it, I directed it. It was during COVID, so I had my two buddies come over. Everyone's wearing masks, but it's just like a camera on me. It's a 15-minute monologue, basically. No one should watch it. It's not very good. I think parts of it are good. It's an interesting.
I actually think it is a very unique.
Did you see it?
Yes, I did see it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, you saw 12 minutes of it, because nobody gets through the whole thing. But it was an experiment in, really where I come from is this micro budget. Mm-hmm. How do you just make something? Like no matter what, pick up a camera, make something. This was 3 cameras, a little camcorder right here, 1 camera over here, 1 camera over here, and doing a monologue. So it was like relying on the fact that, okay, I can act, here's how I want to do this. I want to have these multiple angles. One of them, this first person angle, because the conceit is that the guy is recording a video. And so I made that, and it was very small, and we knocked it out pretty quickly. From there, the next step for me as a director was, again, kind of using this COVID time where there was flexibility. The 48-hour film festival came along, and I'd never done it before, but a buddy of mine is... just one of those...
It's amazing, though, with the 48-hour film festival, is that you see how resourcely you can be, right?
Yeah.
And right, for 48 hours. I think that it definitely tests your skills as a filmmaker.
And I feel like I kind of cheated on that a little bit because my friend is a Swiss. His name's Jose Ordonez Jr. He actually edited Thank You Places as well, but he's one of those Swiss Army knife film guys. He can shoot, he can edit, he can do sound, he can do it all. And so I put a team together, which is probably the thing that I'm best at. Is I know actors and I know camera people and I can inspire a group of people to come together and convince them to make something for no money. Important talent, folks.
Yes, it is an
especially when you're starting.
Talent.
And so I kind of was like, all right, I want to direct this, I want to write this, and Jose was like, let me help with the story, and then we can take it from there. So 48, those hours begin. We're banging around story ideas for a few hours. We finally landed on something. I wrote that script in 2 hours. We shot it the next day. Jose edited it that night, and we won Best Film, Best Director, Best Actress. It's actually a short film that I'm proud of, and I've got some mileage out of since then. I hosted an event around it. It was like a multidisciplinary artistic event.
That was I remember that one.
Make the Leap, which was a lot of fun. So I'm always trying to find ways. Okay, like I made this for nothing because the 48 hour, it's like that's the requirement. You're not allowed to spend money. How do I get some more mileage out of this? How do I maybe start to build an audience? I started a newsletter of my own at that time in conjunction with that film, and that was so that actually happened after we shot Thank You Places. So this is where timelines are
That's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting.
So we shot Thank You Places before this. So I went into that really having only directed that first person short film. And that, again, it was the pandemic drove this, like, as a theater company, we said, well, why don't we make something about a theater company during the pandemic? And we can all go in one space and we can create a bubble and it'll be one location, ensemble cast. And my friend and I, the same guy who wrote that one person short play, we banged out the script in a month. We just went back and forth, and it's about 80 pages. And during that time, we were in pre-production and we were securing the cast. So we were writing the roles for actors we knew. It was all very like, what resources do we have? And let's write something towards that. We have a theater. We knew the space. So we were writing the locations that we already knew. So that really streamlined a lot of things, was writing like a producer, basically. And we shot that film in 8 days.
Just like as a director, having editing, to
Yes.
edit while you're directing, to be able to edit while you're directing.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yep. We shot it in 8 days, and that was the same thing where it's like, okay, I've seen a lot of movies, and I like movies, but do I know how to direct? So let me watch some master classes and watch some YouTube and read some books and take what I know from the theater and take things I love from other movies and adapt, steal, copy, pay homage, I should say.
That's it, right.
And we used the fact that we had a bunch of actors who were theater trained, who could memorize a bunch of lines. We rehearsed a week over Zoom. We rehearsed a week in the space. And so when we got there to shoot, the acting was there. It was blocked, it was ready, we treated it like a play, and it was just about getting the camera right. So that's been the journey. We could talk about future projects later, but those have been like the main things of producing a feature, co-writing and directing my own feature, making a couple shorts that got me ready for that. But a lot of it is just sort of like a foolish confidence. It's just sort of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna try.
Confidence in this industry is really the name of the game.
Yeah.
And that and personality. So the fact that you can actually get people together and they actually will, they like you.
Yeah.
It's really important.
It does help.
It does help. It does help when you're putting projects together, and then the material itself. So it's obviously you hit a nail by having you're having actors that are in the theater. It's about theater. I mean, you've hit all of those those important points where people are going to be passionate about the project. So kudos to you for that. Yeah. How did you? I mean, budget for Thank You Places was minimal, I'm assuming.
Yes, it was minimal.
And then, how'd you did you find financing? Was it personal?
So it was a combination of being personally funded and grants, and the production taking a very long time. When you spread something out a long time post production, you can kind of throw money at it here and there rather than requiring a lump sum. But yeah, it was a combination of kind of like funding from small amounts of funding from different places.
Sources, right? Yeah. And then on a regular basis, do you have a steady job, or is this do you work acting in do you do commercials and all of that?
Wonderful question. I'm actually last night I just did an analysis of 2024. Yeah. I looked at I have a LLC that I try to filter everything through. I looked at my QuickBooks and I was like, where was my income coming from? And it is a combination of the theater company, so the New City Players, that is a part-time job for me. My own video production company, where I work with clients. I do projects with the United Way. I work with a private school up in West Palm. I do monthly retainer work for them, marketing, video production, producing for them. And I do commercial acting, and I do game show hosting.
Oh, really?
This is something that nobody knows about.
What game show is this?
So Confetti is a company that I've worked for the last few years. It was sort of like a pandemic survival job. Really good friend of mine, Tyler Johnson Grimes, who's a playwright.
Another three names.
Another three-namer, yeah. I only am friends with three-name people, so don't at me unless you have three names.
Sandy K. Lighterman, there you go.
Now we can speak. But he works for Confetti, and they do online virtual games for companies. So like Family Feud style games and trivia, and a company will buy an hour and we come in and host, and you do it on Zoom. It's all remote.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
Okay.
yeah, so it's a great. It's full of actors. Like that's who is the staff of. So that's a gig where I've been doing that for several years. I actually have a game after this interview. I'm gonna run over to GP and set up in an office, and I gotta host a game of Taboo really quick. That might be the one that I'm phasing out kind of soon, because ideally some of these other things are growing. But it has very truly been, and then some stage acting as well, which pays the least. But it has my heart.
Okay.
Pays the least, takes the most time, but gives maybe the most satisfaction.
Creative
in a lot of ways.
satisfaction, yeah.
But when you look at the numbers of your life, you really got to like take stock, and so if anyone wants to have that conversation, I'm in the middle of it personally right now. So it's a combination, but it all filters through. I have my own production company, LLC, and I send everything to there to try to make it easier for my accountant.
And also, to make a living,
Yes.
while you're making your art, because that's
Exactly.
part of it. So you're from here. I don't want to make a guess at this, but favorite destination or location to shoot something. I don't want to guess something because I don't want to put it in your mind.
That I've already shot at, or that I would like to shoot
Well,
at?
either both.
I love Flanagan's more than anything.
Well, maybe we'll show this to Flanagan's and make some.
Jimmy Flanagan. Jimmy, I know you're out there. We've spoken before because we shot a scene in Flanagan's in Pompano Boy.
Yeah.
And that was I got his number from someone who knew someone who knew someone, and it was a cold call, and I just asked, and he was like, "Yeah, we can make it happen." So they were super super helpful in that regard. I live around the corner from a Flanagan's. I will probably die in a Flanagan's.
Okay.
So you walk in there, it's like another world, but it's a world that I've always.
It's like Cheers
been.
for you.
It is.
That's like
it is my Cheers. So I love it. I'd love to do. I even tried to get them as a client before. Their social media is so good, but I'm like, I want to do a series. Like, hire me to do a mini series in Flanagan's. Jimmy, come on. With my idea was the same table. Have you Room 104? Have you seen this?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Duplass.
Yeah, Duplass Brothers, huge inspirations. Every indie filmmaker loves them, of course. So Room 104 is this show on HBO where same motel room, different story every time.
That's awesome.
So I'm like, same table at Flanagan's, but a different story every time.
I think it's a great idea.
Right? It's a couple, it's a family, it's a kid by themselves, it's an old guy by themselves, it's two waiters. I don't know.
If they won't do, you could go to fill in the blank of the chain restaurant. They might. So
it's true.
We've just born a new idea that you could
been percolating forever.
Yeah, but
I gotta work on it.
You have another way to do. You don't have to go to just Flanagan's. You can go to any. You can go to.
That's true.
Well, there's no too many TGI Fridays, but there's
Fridays. Who needs to be revitalized?
Chili's.
I loved Chili's.
Baby
back ribs. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. Want my baby back, baby back. That's for the social clip. You're welcome.
Yeah. So now that so I think
that queso though, that queso at Chili's. Oh, yes.
Yeah. No.
I wasted a lot of years on that queso.
That queso. Okay, there you go.
But the thing I'll say is Flanagan's has my heart.
It has your heart. So
I know if I could do it there, that would be.
It
would feel like selling out to do it for Chili's.
I got you, but
I'm willing to sell out for the right price.
I was going to say,
Let's be clear.
This is the film industry.
It's called the film business.
And
that's twice as big as the word film.
Why do they shoot? Obviously, things that should be shot here. They shoot in Georgia. Is because there's a reason for that, and that's because someone else has more money, right? So it's always that case.
Oh, I always forget everything's about money.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately. Any upcoming projects that you have that you're working on besides the Flanagan's project?
Always working on a Flanagan's project.
Okay.
That's always in the back pocket. I am working on a short documentary right now with United Way. I've done a few projects with them specifically about, this is such a tonal shift, I'm so sorry. But I've done a few projects with them about the opioid epidemic.
Okay.
And it's a world I didn't know much about 4 years ago, and I've now done three or four short films with them. Learned so much in the last few years. Just the fact that we have so much stigma around this issue and we're experiencing so much death that could be prevented in our community in Broward County. It's just a lot of devastation there. I think there's a lot of stories that need to be told. So I'm in pre-production right now for the latest film of that. This one is going to be different. It's actually turning the camera around for the first time in like a Michael Moore style. I think the thing I'm trying to go for is like I'm fed up with not seeing results. You know,
Okay.
I've made a few of these films now, and we have great programs in the community. We have gaps in the community. We have areas where it doesn't make sense to me why funding went here and not there.
And why not
or-
collaboration amongst different
Yes,
organizations?
the collaboration
Yes.
happening is really important. So I am basically spending a day shooting, just me and a videographer, and we are going to, I think right now I have 6 different programs all around Broward County. Cameras following me, and I'm just interviewing leaders of these programs and saying, okay, what is working here, and why is it working? And then what are the gaps? You know, why are we still seeing, okay, you have a great program, why are we still seeing these problems in the community around this? And hopefully get a conversation started. Hopefully, you know, I want this one to be a little more
You want-
aggressive is the wrong word, but
Well, maybe maybe you bring out all of the pluses and minuses to where
Yeah.
then you actually could create the situation so that the other places that have the pluses that work might
Yeah.
be able to collaborate to work
Yeah,
together. Maybe that
absolutely.
you solve that problem.
yeah, I mean that would be beautiful,
Yeah,
right?
well,
Like
yeah.
the power of story and film to
Absolutely.
raise awareness, to reduce stigma, you know. So that's a world I've been in for a few years now, and that's what's next. I actually shoot
Okay.
that in 10 days.
So
Yeah.
that sounds like an interesting project and a promising project and
Yeah.
pays the bills. Okay, so we're gonna round this out by you telling me, what advice can you give to,
Yeah.
a future filmmaker, emerging filmmaker?
Yeah. I love this question. I think the most important thing you can do is figure out what is the thing that you are uniquely positioned to do.
Right.
So for me, I came to this as an actor, and my community is actors. So I know a lot of actors. So that automatically makes the casting process, it makes filling roles very easy for me. Whereas I talk to a lot of other producers are coming to me for casting help. Constantly, I'm getting texts. Hey, I'm looking for this type of person, blah, 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 blah.
You need to start the cast.
I know, I've thought about it.
You should be a casting director.
I've thought about
just
it.
as a side gig.
I know.
Make some money.
I have considered it. But that's an example of me being able to leverage an area where it's like, oh, that's a whole part of the filmmaking process that is streamlined for me. And when something is streamlined, either because you can do it yourself or because you have a network that is close that makes it easy to do it, you've reduced your budget.
Yep.
Right? Because I don't have to hire a casting director. I love to act, so I'm probably going to take on one of those roles. I don't have to pay myself to act. I can if there's the budget, but I can also group together a couple of the roles and reduce the budget in that way. So I think especially when you're starting out, finding that thing, maybe you are a brilliant editor, but you want to get into directing. Well, that's amazing because you can edit your own film, and
right.
like you said before, you can be editing while you're directing. Those are the skills I don't have, right? The technical stuff. That's where I am kind of deficient and rely on other people. So find the thing that you can do, double down on it, and then you're going to know what kind of team do I need to have around me, because it is an extremely collaborative process. Yes, you can make a film all by yourself. People have done it. People have had success doing it. So if you can do that, great. That's a cool experiment, and you can do it for no money. But most of us need other people to some degree. But you got to really double down. Stop trying to be something you're not is probably part of it. Like,
yeah.
if you're a great editor, maybe you don't need to be a director. Maybe you need to be a great editor.
Right. Find something that, one thing I always say about this industry, you have to have a passion for it. It's not about, you have to have the passion, because the money will come eventually.
Yes.
It usually does. But it is
Yes.
the passion, and because it's a tough industry if you don't have a passion for it, right?
Yeah, and it takes time. And I think, I feel like a big part of your 20s is feeling this urgency to well,
make a mark.
Orson Welles made Citizen Kane when he was 25. What am I doing with my life? You're not Orson Welles. I'm sorry. It's like most of us are not. Life is long. There's a lot of time to make something. People make their first film in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s.
Yeah.
It's never too late to start. It's never too late to start something today that maybe doesn't come to life for 5 years, 10 years.
That's the normal life of a feature film.
It
Actually,
is.
really,
It is several years.
Recognize that it takes that long, a lot of times to get
But I
something
think
out.
having the long view is really helpful.
it's
Like
a
I don't have, if I don't make it this year, I'm gonna die. It's like,
Right.
give it time.
Yeah.
Focus on the quality of the script. First and foremost, take the time on the script.
That's what that is very true, because
Yeah.
without a script there is no story,
Mhm.
right? That is,
Mhm.
and with a script and no actors there is no story.
Right.
And right, so we can keep going. Those are two things that are really important to
Yeah, and I
bring
find
anything to life.
That's probably the thing that I bring to a film set that's different from a lot of, I mean this pejoratively, film bros. That film bro energy is like obsessed with the shot and how does it look and how does it, and it's like the actors are just forgotten.
Yeah.
And the script is just kind of like the second thing. And
It's
for
like
me,
an action film all the time, right?
Yeah.
Right,
I come at it from the opposite. It's like the most important thing here is the story and the acting.
Yes.
The other stuff, particularly on the camera side, you can get away with a lot as long as the sound is decent. You can get away with a lot, not being super professional looking. So focus on that, on the storytelling piece
And
first.
that's why I know I like you, and because I very much believe it is the story, and
Yeah.
if you focus on the story, because you can turn on any one of gazillion now streaming channels, and you can find a lot of stories that have no story,
Yes,
right? That have
yes.
nothing that's interesting to them. So
Or nothing to say.
I think well, it's true, unfortunately, but I think that you have a bright future. I do.
Thank you.
We're fans here in the
Thank
Film
you.
Commission. Tell us a little bit more so everybody knows how to follow you.
Yes, absolutely. So if you go to my website, timothymarkdavis.com, that's 3 names, timothymarkdavis.com. There, if you scroll down, you can sign up for my newsletter. I do a monthly newsletter that is kind of what I'm up to, but it's also usually involves some level of me wrestling through an artistic question or an artistic fear. And I'm always looking for feedback there. I love when people respond and reply to those emails. I've got some great email exchanges from the last couple of years where I just went back and forth with people and we bared our souls a little bit about the creative process. But my Instagram is on my website as well, but it's at Timothy Mark Davis.
Very nice. Well, this was very interesting, and I guess now I'm going to have to go by Sandy K. Lighterman.
That's
because now
right.
I feel very much.
It sounds pretty
like
cool.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sandy.
A great conversation. I learned more today than I knew yesterday about you, and so I look forward to learning more as time goes on.
Yeah, and thank you for all you do in our community. I
you're
love
right.
that
Thank
this
you.
series is here. I love that you were like the Thor of the film industry down here in Broward, just throwing your hammer and bringing things back to us. It's amazing.
I'm your biggest cheerleaders. That's what I.
Yeah, well, you
consider
do a great
myself.
job.
My
We're
pom
really
poms are
thankful.
hidden, but I have them. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah.